Okay, so I just wanted to remind you of a couple things first. So you had your week 3 grade, which is based on the way you completed your assignments and participated in the first 3 weeks. That's going to be 15% of your final grade. The draft that you turned in of the paper is 10% of your final grade, and then the midterm is 20%, so more than both of those. After the midterm, you'll get feedback on your civic engagement proposal, your grade from the midterm, and then you'll have a good idea of how you're doing at the halfway point. And then you've got these 3 pieces left in the course. So after the midterm and kind of at the midterm, you're going to be narrowing in on the major concepts that we've covered so far, and understand that this class is hard. Legal classes are difficult. So you just kind of have to trust the process, and then you'll kind of learn how to think legally. The other issue is that if you raise questions in the Google Form assignments, I can't respond to all of those. Those are really to see what you know. They're not really a form of kind of like email or messaging. So feel free to email me if you have any specific questions about the content of the course or about just the process of the course. I have 90 students, right, over 3 classes, so I can't respond to everybody immediately. So I need you to meet me halfway and do your part. So for the midterm, do keep a copy of your answers in a separate document just in case anything goes wrong with your internet. The exam is not timed, so you have several days to complete it, which means that you might want to look at the exam, come up with some answers either on a piece of paper or on a Google Doc or a Word doc or text, whatever you use. And then you could just copy and paste those into the Google form. And then when you submit, then I get them, right? But if you don't think you have enough time, that would be one way just to kind of prepare yourself. Do answer the questions directly. So try to be as clear and concise and get right to the point as quickly as you can. And then on the multiple choice answers, you need to pick the best answer. So sometimes there's a choice between 2 that look pretty similar, but you need to look for the one that's the best answer. Do not restate the question when you're answering the question. Just go ahead and be direct and answer the question directly. Do not think that if you use fancy language, that's going to make it clearer. You need to speak the way that's most comfortable for you, and not worry about whether you're using buzzwords. It needs to be clear. That needs to be the main point in the answers. And then do make sure you give yourself enough time, space, and attention so that you can complete the work the best you can. There is a civic engagement portion of the exam. This is going to be asking you to think more about social responsibility. In the image I provide on this slide, this is how Kingsborough defines social responsibility. So they see it as a framework of obligations and actions by individuals or organizations in the interest of working towards an equitable society. The 3 things that you have to do are recognize different attitudes and beliefs are as valuable or as important as your own. Examine the importance of behaving ethically and with due sensitivity towards social, cultural, economic, environmental, and academic issues and differences, and to understand your role in working towards equity for social responsibility. The way that we're doing this is to have civic engagement experiences, and then you're going to reflect on these experiences and how they informed your understanding of this definition. To apply a constitutional interpretation, the way that you see the Constitution informing your own identity and your ability to act, which is agency, I'm going to have you apply that knowledge and your thinking to a homelessness problem. Then you need to show me that you understand how the framers' liberal legalism, the way that they see the world, their identity, with an emphasis towards property protection and economics, or trying to increase the wealth of that group, influences their own identities. Then you need to understand the limits of rights talk and the opportunities of rights talk. So property rights, right, limit your individual rights, but there's civil rights that give you opportunities for resistance and to push back. So you need to show me that you understand that. And then you need to refer to the readings that show that many groups have used rights as a double-edged sword. So it's not about changing individual minds. That's not what law does, and that's not what legal systems do. It's about changing the social system, using the law as a tool. The next part of the exam is about reading comprehension, a pretty typical part of an exam. But what I've tried to get you to think about in this class is to think critically and to apply your learning. So this is not about your opinion. This is about identifying the issues that come up in the readings and then applying that learning, those main concepts, in your responses. The main concepts that you need to be thinking about for reading comprehension are jurisdiction, liberal legalism, quasi-sovereignty, and the concept of a torn country, which is what it is to be multicultural in a nation. You should use the rights table to help you prepare so that you understand how rights work against each other, that they don't always go together, and that they don't always result in the outcome that you would like. You need to reread the civic engagement instructions because I've given you an example narrative of how to apply identity and agency. And it also provides definitions for anti-racism, segregation, and assimilation, which are all important to understanding equity and social responsibility. You need to be doing a close reading. So you are not reading to validate your assumptions or to make your arguments stronger and have more opinions. You need to read about the differences that come up in the different materials and start to understand that not one is right and one is wrong, but that these all inform constitutional law. The last is you should really practice with the learning outcomes if you have time. So I provided you learning outcomes after each week, so you should look at those questions carefully and practice your answers so that you're ready to answer completely on the midterm exam. The biggest concept that you have to start really understanding at this point in the midterm is that there's a tension or a contrast between control, social control, and group resistance. So some groups are trying to control other groups, some groups are trying to exclude other groups, some groups discriminate against other groups, and this is really what creates legal resistance. And so you have to start engaging with your own shifting identities as you start to learn more about these constituted identities and how the system might see you and what labeling is. You have to think about how that reacts to your kind of ideas of what you would like to be seen as. You should consider how you're viewed from the state and legal level. So oftentimes people don't think that they are deviants or they don't think that they are criminal, but the things that you do and the things you participate in are seen as deviant or criminal from different groups' perspectives, including the state and legal level. And so it's kind of coming into whether that's fair, what you would do to resist those labels, and how you participate in making labels that are unfair towards others. This is all to help you think about resistance as a critical agency tool and how groups use the law and civil rights and rights talk to kind of fight against that form of domination. And then finally, you need to imagine what a just multicultural social structure might look like. And so we can safely say that this is not it. So the Constitution that was drafted in 1787 never intended to create a multicultural social structure, and it certainly never intended to create one that was just towards everyone. So your ideas about law, culture, and constitutions should be informed on the situations that we're in now. You'll want to be towards the bottom of this table so that you construct a logical observation or hypothesis about different meanings of laws, cultures, and constitutions as they apply to different groups in society. And then you should provide a rational evidence from a reading to be specific about what you mean by the terms that you use and how that relates to the terms laws, cultures, and constitutions. So now you're being much more direct and much more specific about how you're understanding these main concepts. C and B answers will tend to overgeneralize. You'll make big, broad statements and you don't define your terms, you're not specific, or they don't refer to any of the course materials at all.